one of the things that really helped me in this journey was it's great to ingest other people's viewpoints. If you're able to give your own definition and define something in your own terms, you're able to refine it in your own terms.
When I started charging for my services, I started at like $50 an hour. And then I did my first $500 package. And I'm like, holy how did I do that? And then it got up to 5, and then, you know, now I have a $9 grand a month retainer right now.
Right.
Eventually you learn this lesson. You can always charge more than what you're charging. As you go from like making 5,000 to 10,000, etc., as you get higher and higher, there's these different bosses you have to beat. What has been that kind of progression for you?
Well, let me start with
What is up, guys? It is your boy Jackson here at Deal Flow Radio, the show where we help you figure out how to get more deals for your business. I'm here with Antoine, my good friend, and he is one of the best people I've met in Vegas at building community. And community, in my opinion, is one of the few things I think that will matter the most as AI advances. And so I think the reason me and Antoine have such a good relationship is because we're both obsessed over this idea of how do we build community. And real quick, for people that don't know, give them a little background on what you've done to do that.
Absolutely. Hello, y'all, the viewers out there. Jackson, well done with the podcast. My name is Antwan Webb. I'm 11 years digital entrepreneur, and I'm a serial entrepreneur, meaning I have many passions and I tend to invest in them, and I try to find ways to generate revenue out of the things that I like to do. And so to that fashion, I like marketing. I like learning how to get someone's message out there to the masses because I had to do that for myself. And so I think a lot of us in business, one of the cruxes that we get caught up on is like marketing. So I tried to figure that out first. And so getting into sales funnels, getting into pay-per-click advertising, getting into understanding how money moves has really lended a good amount of success to me and to what I've been able to put my mind to. And so I hope to share on this some really good tips and tricks on exactly how I was able to scale multiple businesses to 7 figures, but also understand how to market in today's time and in today's infrastructure, guerrilla, which is organic, and paid, which is advertising. And I think if you have a good scale on both, you'll have a good understanding. So to that, I used those 2 things that I became very proficient at to get in with teams that have scaled Jordan Belfort, $10 million in annual revenue, BarkBox, Smile Direct Club, US Health Advisors, got in with companies and people like Marshall Silver, Ed Milet. And what we've been able to do is architect on the back end, sales funnel systems, flows, advertising, etc. But what we're really good at is understanding the system and structure that's used in order to scale different types of businesses. Because there's really 3 things we can do on the internet, which is give me your name, phone number, your email, schedule a phone call, or buy something, which is just voting with your credit card. So understanding those 3 facets allowed me to leverage those skills in a funding company called Pin Capital. If you need business funding or any type of lending, go check them out, PYN. And BioVault Clinics, which is a clinic that and franchise that specializes in teaching and educating about stem cells and how they can help, and peptides and HRT and vitamins and etc. So my last venture was scaling a stem cell business out of Tijuana to about 300K a month. And that was my introduction to the healthcare space and the, med practice space. And since then, I essentially have made it my mission to get what I know into the hands of other health practitioners and professionals so that they can scale their high ticket businesses the same way that I did, especially if you're having a degree or if you're very well off in the space already. I see a really blue ocean to the regenerative space and to this peptide and health space. We're talking, retatrutide is going to be $1 trillion pharmaceutical drug. Who knows what comes after that, right? And right now we have kind of like a very unique point in time where the general public can get involved with that. And even more so for our clinicians out there, which is the team that I'm on. Um, there's an incredible opportunity now more than ever to break out of the glass ceiling that's on the industry. So excited to talk about a plethora of things, here today on the show.
If you look at business, there's an analogy a lot of people use of it's kind of like there's these levels. It's like a video game you're beating. And as you go from like making 5,000 to 10,000, etc., as you get higher and higher, there's these different bosses you have to beat.
Sure.
And each time you learn that lesson, you're able to get to that next level.
Right.
What has been that kind of progression for you?
To the bosses that I've had to beat.
Yeah, like for example, I had to learn how to market, and then I had to
Sure.
learn how to sell. What was that kind of evolution for you? And then once you beat those bosses, you got to a level where now you can replicate that in different industries. So what did you learn from beating all those bosses?
Yeah. Well, let me start with I come from contracting industry, so my family owns a company called A1 Affordable Chimneys and Roofing, and it's one of the largest contracting companies out there. We do a lot of work in the preventative area, if you will. There's a lot of things in that space that you're dealing with carbon monoxide, like venting out of your chimney or through your home and et cetera. And there's a lot of things, especially on the East Coast with these really bad winters, the business is able to help homeowners with. And so I say this was the first boss that I've had to overcome because let's say you're in your 9 to 5 job and you're, flipping burgers. Well, that's the first boss you have to overcome, right? So like your first boss is, hey, how do I leverage myself enough out in this position to get out of the position? And you're going to find yourself in that position consistently. So once you figure out how to do it once and what kind of your style is of doing that, then you're going to revert back to that style every time you get in a pinch and you need to leverage yourself out. So let's think of it like this. One of the things that really helped me in this journey was leaning back into my own understanding and building my own confidence of what things mean to me. And so it's great to ingest other people's viewpoints. Like you're ingesting mine on the podcast, or ingesting yours on the podcast. Whoever's I'm listening, to someone else's podcast, I'm ingesting their ideas, but it's important for you to come up with your own ideas and really put your own meaning behind a lot of the things that happen to you in the world. And so if you're able to give your own definition and define something in your own terms, you're able to refine it in your own terms. And so for me, I was always the hard head. I didn't, for all intents and purposes, I didn't want to listen when I was young. Had I listened and know what I know now, I'd be even further along than I am now. But I didn't want to listen. I should have, kind of followed the path that was laid out for me while embarking on my journey. No, I wanted to just go raw dog, put me on the island. I'm good by myself type of shit. And so now looking back, the first boss is like, hey, understanding what value do I bring into the table, or what value do I want to bring to the table, right? Like when I was doing contracting and construction, well, I went and got my real estate license, right? And so I can participate more in the fix and flip side of the business. And so while I was doing that, I also had a record label. And I was DJing at Pasha, New York City, and Sankey's and Webster Hall. And, I did underground New York City nightlife for 5 years. And so I got really entrenched in that. And so what ended up happening was while I was doing my DJing and my record label, I was working at my family business, understanding the ropes of, I started working at my family business like 15. I don't know. I started DJing at like 22 or something like that. We got really heavy into the scene. And so that first thing that really grabbed my attention was, hey, now I'm getting my real estate license and I'm going to these real estate networking events, but none of them know how to put themselves out there. And so, I knew for a fact I didn't like breaking concrete all day. I surely didn't like doing that. I didn't like certain things about being out in the cold when it's 10 degrees out, right? I didn't like that. Um, and so for me, I was like, well, what am I going to do that's going to leverage this? Well, what do I know how to do that I could leverage? Was a natural question that I had. And so as I started to look around, I said, well, through getting all these people out at these nightclubs, like I know how to put myself out there. My Instagram is dope. People like my Instagram. I get follows and etc. So I said, well, what if I were to teach this to these realtors and these, you know, mortgage loan originators and these title agents and etc. And if you go on my Instagram, you'll see if you scroll some of my stories, I have what's called a classroom. And so I created the classroom, and this was the first community that I ever created. And I was 25 years old, and essentially I invited all of the real estate industry professionals to a Monday night class that they didn't have to pay for, where I taught them social media tips and tricks. And I would create diagrams around how I perceive the actual content creation process, what apps to use, how to text, put the text overlay, all the stuff. It's like having a media brand or media company in your pocket. And so every time I would go and I would teach them. And so the one day the mortgage originator pulls me to the side and says, "Hey bro, would you teach this to my realtors?" And I said, "Of course, why not?" And he said, well, like, what does that look like? And I hadn't thought about it beforehand because I was doing it because I wanted to get more business for my contracting business, because the realtors can refer me to go and take a look at the homes, for their clients. And so that was the original, like, first tie-in, like, oh, okay, I'm going to do this and this is going to tie into this. And I'll leverage that, and then I'll make more money because now I'll be getting leads outside and I can, have a better commission, etc. And so what ended up happening was the mortgage loan originator said, well, what do you want for the class? And I said, well, you know, like $600. And they're like, okay, when do you want to come? And that was my first $600 for an hour sale. And at the time I was probably, I don't know, I was 25. What was I doing? Maybe like $2,000 a week, maybe, So, so having that $600, I was like, okay, when do you want me to show up? Right.
Was there a specific, what check that you got in your entire career was the most fulfilling?
It's my lowest one. That one.
But it's just because it shows it's possible.
It shows it's possible. Once you do the thing for the first time and like you see that it's a viable process.
Well, to play off of that, like that's so true. Like when I started charging for my services, I started at like $50 an hour. And to me, that felt insane because I was making $13 an hour, like Uber Eats.
Yeah.
Right. And then I did my first $500 package and I'm like, holy fuck, how did I do that?
Right.
Right. And then after that, then someone finally convinced me to charge $2,500, and then it got up to $5,000. And then, now I have a $9,000 a month retainer right now.
Right.
And it's just, eventually you learn this lesson that you can always charge more than what you're charging.
100%. Which is, to that extent, I consult for a lot of business owners. And one of the first things that we'll do when we actually sit down and business owners will say, hey, I've got this product, I want to sell it, I want to do marketing to it, and etc. And we'll look at the product and we'll say, okay, well, how much is the product, right? Oh, it's $200. Okay. Well, we got to sell a lot of $200 things to become a millionaire, right? Or versus it's 25,000, or it's 5,000, or it's 3,000, whatever it is, 1,500. You have to sell a lot less. And so the idea is, when you're building out these businesses, what me and you both failed to realize, is that there's an actual structure behind getting people to your highest tier ticket products.
What's your structure?
It really depends. I like high ticket. My main thing that I love to do is to get people on a phone call. So I think it's, one of the best things you can do is remove all of the friction in the process of actually getting a lead to you. So when we ask them to vote with their credit card, there's friction there, right? And everybody's got a number that they're willing to spend, but everybody's got a different number. Some millionaires, $500. You don't care, just $500. Here, thank you, right? Maybe for me and you, it's $20, right? Oh, $20. Here you go, take it. I'm not worried about it. Maybe for someone watching, it's $3,000, right? Everybody's got a different number. And so the more that we can understand the type of avatar that we're playing towards, we can go and we can assimilate our products to the number that they would most likely consider a throwaway number. And so from working with the best to do these things through Digital Offer Agency, which is my marketing brand, we've been able to kind of work backwards from, hey, how do we take this $5,000 product that we're selling, and then how do we create other offers that will work within a value ladder to capture the lifetime value of that particular customer that's coming in.
So I have a question on a value ladder. When do you think it makes sense to have a value ladder? Because some people say just focus on one product and go sell that until you know it can sell. Some people are give them a bunch of options. What is your philosophy and why?
My philosophy is have one option that is sliced into as many different offers as you possibly can while still keeping true to the one offer. Now that might sound complex, but it's a lot more simpler than it may seem. Let's take a marketing business, right? For example, well, you have a $5,000 a month offer. Okay, great. Well, if someone can't afford a $5,000 a month offer and retainer, well, do you just say, hey, I'm sorry, Jackson, I can't service you because you can't afford $5,000? Is that what you say? No. A lot of business owners may say yes. But as a marketer, you and I both know we can't afford to say that, because every time we say that, it's going to cost us $200 to $500, depending on how high ticket the product really is. 25 grand. You may have a cost per acquisition of 1,500, but you're getting 25 G's. It's in the law space all day, right? It's cost $3 grand to get a case, right? $5 grand to get a case in some cases. So it is really relative. But to that point, I think that as you look at your offers and you look to implement your high ticket items inside the marketplace, what I mean by staying true to the core, I have a $5,000 marketing service. You can't afford it. I have two options. I tell you goodbye and I can't service you, and I allow you to go to the next man who's not going to treat you as well as I am, and I'm allowing you to go get robbed. Because I know I'm not going to rob you, but I don't know if the next guy is, and I got to bet that he is. So I got to say to myself, either I'm okay with walking away from you and letting you get robbed by the marketplace, or I figure out a way to make sure that I take care of you to the best of my ability, make sure you're safe and you're covered, and I get you to where you need to be and where I need you to be. And so I like to work on the latter. So instead of then saying, hey, I'm sorry, you disqualify for my $5,000 offer, I'll say, hey, I totally understand, Jackson. Listen, we all get into a little pickle here and there. I get it. And, maybe for most marketing agencies, it's for the dollar. It's for the value. Not saying we're here to work for free, because I can assure you I'm not here to work for free. But at the end of the day, we all got to start somewhere. And it's either I'm going to cut you loose and let you get eaten by the wolves, or I'm going to take care of you and tell you to get in the pack and find your way. I'd prefer to get you in the pack and let you find your way, and then give you guidance to get there. I know where the food's at. I know where you got to eat. You ain't got enough revenue to cut the line. So how would you feel if we did a $2,500 a month package? Let's do that for the first 2 months. Put any extra money that you got, etc., into your marketing budget, and let's get you off the ground with that. Does that sound fair? Right?
Yeah.
And then, okay, maybe that sounds fair. And now I created another offer while not deviating from my main offer.
Yeah, I mean, you can just a la carte break down your current offer into each of the deliverables and then just give them a percentage of the deliverables for cheaper.
100%. And a lot of times people have a hard time figuring that out. And if you do, go to digitalofferagency.com and just sign, go in there and you should see the little button to schedule a call, and just schedule a call and we'll help you out on a call. We typically do it for free, and we'll give you some direction on where your offer stands. Cause really without that, you can't do any marketing anyway. You're going to lose your butt.
So I got 2 more questions for you. Yay or nay, wearing chains at business events?
Wearing chains at business events. I did a piece of content on this where I did. I actually went to one of Bo's events at Bo's house, her new house. And I wore all my like street clothes, like, like we're doing like different DJ event or something. So I wore all my street clothes, like oversized tees, freaking flared jeans and all the whole shit. And I videoed myself and then like pulling up through the gates and just nice ass house with these ritzy ass people. And then whatever, I stayed there to the end, and me and Bo did a little like interview. And then like I was like, Bo, what do you think about my outfit? Blah blah blah. He was like, well, Antoine, let me tell you something. You dress in your style and this, that, and the third. And I was like, look, guys, it doesn't matter what you wear. It matters how you present yourself and how you wear what you have on. Because I could essentially be in all oversized clothes inside of a business setting in a room with business professionals. While I stick out like a sore thumb, I'm also holding the space with an intrinsic power, which then they are looking at you like, wait a minute, why is that person so outside of the norm while so statured?
Yeah.
Now let me go and speak with him. And now you've created intrigue.
You know what it reminds me of is Richard Branson gave some advice around how to brand, and he says, go into a boring industry and make it cool.
Yeah, facts.
And that counterculture marketing strategy is how you brand. That's brand. That's how you have a brand that people remember.
Yeah.
And someone who took that advice was Liquid Death.
Yes.
They went in, you had like Dasani and all these Tropicana, all the whatever, these boring corporate.
Yeah.
And they came in and they had some shit that looked like a beer can with a skull on it.
Yeah, it was.
And they blew up, right? And so I think it's exactly that.
Yeah, I do think that there's a lot of value there. I also think that there's a lot of discretion to be had there too, because at the end of the day, you have to know the rules in order to break the rules. You can't just go and break the rules and not know them, right? So it's like you need to refine yourself enough to be so unrefined that you still look refined while being unrefined.
Write that down.
So that's an internal thing. And that is something that you carry with you, that your clothes don't speak. And I think that if you can master that, then, then
So yay or nay?
I say yay. Yay. I say dress the way that you want to dress and be the person that you want to be and stand out in the ways that you want to stand out, because every which way that the old economic system has worked is not working now.
Yeah.
And we'll continually see a bigger and wider gap, especially with the whole creator marketplace. I think that a lot of people, I don't think that it's going to matter what you look like anymore. I think it's going to matter what skill can you provide that the company needs. I think a lot of companies aren't going to actually hire in-house employees. I think it's going to move to a lot of 1099. So it's either going to be like, hey, you're Jackson and I'm Antwan and I have these skills, and you're Jackson, you have these skills, and you're Justin, you have those skills, and like we get hired by companies. And so it's already starting to work that way. We operate that way already. But if you look at the general marketplace and of employment, they're not looking at it like that, and it's going to creep up with them. And I think that CEOs and business owners don't have any choice but to be able to be flexible and adaptable. And if you're too rigid, you're going to get left behind by the system, because you're not going to be able to keep up, because you can't change fast enough.
So last question, if you could give people one piece of advice on how to create more deal flow, what would you say?
Talk to more people.
That's literally all you need to do.
It's literally, yeah. You need to talk to more.
It's really that simple.
So whether you talk to more people by running advertisements, whether you talk to more people by posting more consistently, whether you talk to more people by going to more networking events, whether
going on podcasts,
talk to more people by going on a podcast and getting your your essence encapsulated in these machines and forever entertained into the matrix system, and people will watch it forever. You will have your grandchildren's grandchildren on there looking you up and looking at the dumb stuff you do on the internet. So what's on the internet today stays there for the next 1,000 years.
Let's go.
But yeah, to that point, yes.
Let's go. Well, thanks for coming on the show, man.
Appreciate you, Jackson. Thanks for having me.